good morning, good evening, good afternoon to you, wherever you might be in the world. My name's Anah Parreli, and of course, I'm in Perth, Western Australia, so we're looking at morning time here. In fact, actually, it is 10:10 a.m., a significant number. Anyway, getting into it, today we're going to be talking about the angel Metatron. Now, if you're new to the channel, you may not be aware that we've got a whole range of angel videos on the playlist, and they're scheduled on a regular basis so that you can access them. Now, of course, the angel playlist does include an introductory couple of videos to the angel content, and also my own experiences, my personal story of how it was that I came to angels and how I came to believe in them to the point where I feel that I know categorically that they exist. You might know them not necessarily by the names of angels. You might call them the shining ones or beings of light and love. And basically, we're talking about a celestial being that has got the highest rate of vibration, shall we say, within their auras. All a bit complex, but not really vital information. The only thing that you really need to understand is, of course, excuse all this background noise. Of course, I've got a little doggy who has decided to get active, and I'm going to pretend that I can't hear him. And I hope that you're going to pretend that you can as well. Anyway, where I'm going with this is when it comes to angels, they actually don't look like these images that I put up. These are artificially generated images. And of course, I don't have a lot of control over how they are created. And the other thing is, too, that where angels are concerned, they don't have a physical body. So the bottom line is they're not actually going to have wings like a bird or feathers and that kind of thing. But I think they convey a sense or a feeling. And this is why I like to put, or part of the reason why I like to create my images with bird wings. But if you were lucky enough to have the gifts of clairvoyance, you might actually just see them as an outline, a tall cylindrical type light aura that has got kind of, we say wings, but they're not like bird wings, kind of winged around about the top, which would be the equivalent of the shoulder space for a human being. I think I do have some images somewhere of what an angel aura might look like. I think they might be in my introduction videos. I can't remember anymore. It's been a while. I've been making a lot of videos. But anyway, without further ado, I should crack on and just say, look, if you're new to the channel, welcome aboard. If you're returning, thank you for your ongoing support and being part of the journey. And I feel that's rewarding if you're a returning visitor, because it means that the content that I'm delivering to you is somehow helpful, that you're actually putting this stuff to the test, which I recommend for everybody, whether you believe in angels per se or not, to actually try and test the strategy yourself and see if it works for you, which I have no doubt that it will. But of course, everybody needs to have their own experience. So let's crack on. So, as far as angels and missions go, he's actually a really interesting one. Before I go to my notes here, no, I'll just jump straight in. Okay, his goals of creation are to hold the Akashic records, if I can pronounce it today. I'm having a mind blank. We'll talk about that in one of the future slides that's coming up, but also to help empower us with the purification of thoughts and the removal of negativity, negative thinking, negative habits, and that kind of thing. But as far as my notes go, what I've put down here is that if you don't know what the Akashic records are, or the Akashic library, I think that's how you pronounce it, it's where your divine blueprint is stored. And for some people, they will actually refer to Metatron as the creator or God's secretary. Now, the other thing, the reason why I say Metatron is interesting is because there are people that believe that Metatron actually wasn't born an angel, that he was actually, or that his life path, if you like, or soul life, has included being in human form, and he was originally created as a human in the form of a prophet called Enoch, who was in the Bible. It can be a bit confusing if you really try to find all of the answers, but either way, the story goes that Enoch was so beloved by God as a human being, and he felt so worthy that he actually brought him or transported him up to be an angel. Now, the thing with this is, though, where I'm going with this is not everybody has got clairvoyant gifts, but I actually have, through the course of teaching people psychic development, I am aware of many people that have actually done the trip to view their divine blueprint, and they've come back and they've actually all described a spirit, shall we say, that presents in similar form. There's very much similarities, looks nothing like this gentleman here with his angelic wings. But I just thought that was an interesting little tidbit to give to you, that there is a shared experience of interacting with Metatron, and that shared experience includes a lot of commonalities and also some variations, and I'll talk about the variations as we get to them. So whether we consider Metatron and Enoch to be the same spirit, soul, whatever, is kind of irrelevant to this little perspective, okay? At the end of the day, he's defined as a lesser archangel within his current role as Metatron the angel, and he has been, from what I understand, Metatron angel for who knows, a millennia or more or whatever. Basically, let's talk about lesser archangels. Their responsibilities are to bestow the gift of purity to all of us. And the thing with lesser archangels are that they are smaller in size than the great archangels, such as Zadkiel or, oh gosh, gee, I'm mind blanking, Raphael, Shamuel, Uriel, Archangel Michael, all of these archangels, they've got these massive big auras if you've got clairvoyance and you can see them. With the lesser archangels, their aura is actually smaller, but it's still large, let's be real, because your general angel has got a large aura as well. By this I mean, if a human being, their aura can be, say, 7 or 8 foot tall. If it was a person who's 6 foot or whatever, they can have a large aura too, but the angelic auras are actually much larger than the human ones. Anyway, defining points of the lesser archangels is, if you do have these gifts of clairvoyance developed, you might see their auras in such a way that the facial area is very bright and light. You might not see the facial features, but you will see an outline of a face, and you will see an outline potentially. I mean, if you've got a different experience, I'd love to hear it, where they have this long golden hair. Generally speaking, they will have dark eyes if you do see the facial features, and I'm going to be putting my hand up here and saying this is not something that I actually have recollection. I don't have any conscious recollection actually of seeing any of the lesser archangels. This is just information that's been conveyed to me. Anyway, they convey the thought or idea of the eternal to the recipient. So this is what we call the divine idea. If there is something as part of our divine blueprint that we need to be doing, they will send that little light bulb to us like, you know what, I think it would be good if I did X, Y, and Z. And sometimes you can be walking this pathway unconsciously, because it's part of your divine blueprint. Now, they're also associated with movement and teamwork and being able to create a heightened vibration of the aura, greater light and love, through things such as dancing in circles. And I link lesser archangels with the idea of the whirling dervish. I'm sort of stumbling over my words. But anyway, they're also part of groups, like I say, teams. So this could be a group of people working together for this great big divine idea or plan that impacts positively on the whole of humanity. It could be within your circle, your family unit and friends, and creating social gatherings that bring through this whole idea of light and love, fun, laughter, all of this kind of thing. Now, when it comes to the Akashic records, they are held in what is a library, okay? And it's basically an archive of where all of our thoughts and deeds are recorded on an essence and held in the mental plane. Now, our attitudes that we held yesterday or today, they're going to shape our present and our future, because we're talking about the playing out of karma. So anyway, the point being that we can actually attend the Akashic library when we raise our vibration enough, and we can go there and actually request to be shown our divine plan and to have conscious recollection of it once we come out of this meditative state. Now, I have seen all sorts of things and claims by people when it comes to things like the Akashic records and people guiding others to this space, to the library, and taking them with them. Now, I'm just going to share some understanding. My understanding, and it might be different for other people, is that yes, we can travel with others to the records, to the library, but my understanding is that nobody else is privy to the content. Some of it we might know, and the only reason I say this is because I have conscious recollection of actually traveling with another person, and as does this person with me, and we didn't actually realize that it could be done at the time. And I'm not going to go into that whole story right now as to how it transpired. What I will say is that the next morning we both woke up and we shared what we had witnessed in what we felt was a kind of dream state or a conscious dreaming. And we were able to tell each other of our experiences, what we had heard, what we had been told. We were both aware that we had been told our divine path and our future, and we had shared recollections. And some stuff neither of us could remember, just so that you know. She couldn't remember, for example, what my future held for me. I could remember what her future, what she had been told as far as some of her future, not all of it, because we had some validating information. We didn't know it at the time, I've got to say. When you're talking about predictions, you never ever know until it actually comes true. But one thing that we had spoken about was being in this amazing building, which I'm not going to actually describe it, and we had both seen these horrendous yellow gingham curtains. And I say horrendous because they're very outdated. They are a product of the 70s. But either way, we both had conscious recollection of seeing these curtains and asking questions. What did that mean? Why on earth would we see these curtains in that place? Well, it was a few months after this, because actually I'll go into, there was a couple of things involved. One was, obviously, yes, we wanted to share information. We knew we'd been told our futures. And I said, look, all I remember is that the job that your husband has applied for, that he actually gets it, and that you'll be moving up there. And I was able to give her the date of when they were going to be doing the move, what I expected. Well, as life goes, you know what it's like. We didn't hear anything more, and the date was becoming very close, and she hadn't even been informed, as far as I knew, that he'd been successful with the job application. Well, what happened was 2 days before the date that I said, I believe that your move is going to happen on this day, she phoned me up to say, well, I won't say what she said, but it was admirable, but typically Australian. And she made the comment of, you didn't actually get it right. And I started with, I know, I'm sorry, I don't know why, I don't know how, I don't understand, because that's the usual response. And she just laughed and she said, no, you didn't get it right. She said, because we're not actually flying up there to start work. She said, we're actually going up there on that day. The flights have been booked and we're going to pick our house. I was like, oh my goodness me, that was so exciting, because that seemed like a bit of a breakthrough as far as predictions go. And then I got a phone call after they visited the house, and she said, you're not going to believe this. She said the yellow curtains were in the window of the house that they're moving into. So that was significant. Okay, so that's just one of those amazing experiences that we have. But what I want to make point of here, I'm just sharing that story with you as part of validating how it happens, and that what is on, or what is stored and recorded there, is actually deeply private, and not everybody can access unless they're given permission. Okay, so going back to what you can expect to see if you manage to get there is different people, because it's all about what we're comfortable with. For me, I'll be honest and say, I saw books. I saw our divine plan being read to us from a book. By the way, this was a shared memory. And also that the person that was reading from the book didn't have wings. So that's just an interesting tidbit. The book was being read to us. We were being told what to expect. I'm comfortable to say this because while these are sacred moments, there are variations, and I think it's very important for people to understand that what happens for one person is not the same for all, because I know of other people that went to the Akashic records, and of course, they have seen a different type of person or being or whatever who gives them the information. Some people don't see a person type at all. Some people just see the things on the shelf, and sometimes what they're looking at, the information or the containers of the information, might be on scrolls where they get to look at a scroll. Other people have referred to things like being a CD or a disc. Or even a USB, where they're able to access the information. And in fact, sometimes clairvoyantly, people might see it type across the screen like on a computer. So it's different for everybody, okay? So I would release any ideas or expectations about what you might find if you're able to go to this place and just allow it to unfold in the divine way for you. The other tidbit that I would give you is you don't always get told as much as you would like, because you only ever get information at the divine time in the divine way. If they give you all the answers up front, you don't actually, or we don't learn the experiences that we're meant to as part of our divine plan, and that can be a little bit frustrating sometimes. I certainly was frustrated to a large extent, but I just accepted it. Because it becomes that, I don't understand, but I accept that it is the way it is. But yes, both myself and the girl that I went with, we were informed of my future, but neither of us could remember on a conscious level what was going to be happening for me. I had a bit of an idea, but it didn't come to pass, so it must have been an option. So we're 20 minutes into this video. I'm going to try and speed it up and just crack on through my notes, okay? Simply because I know time is an issue. So when we talk about the powers of Metatron, or the wisdom, we also refer to what is called Metatron's cube and sacred geometry. These are all byproducts of Metatron's wisdom. You may have heard about it. It's an extremely in-depth subject. I'm talking about sacred geometry, but in summary, all the mosques, temples and churches of old, they were built in accordance with the principles of Metatron's cube, which is designed to bring in the healing powers and energy of the Creator to raise the vibration of this space of worship, you may as well like. Now, if you take a look at Metatron's cube, you're going to see a whole heap of different images over the internet. It's worth taking a look. I don't claim to be expert on this by any means. It's a very complex subject. So from a minimal understanding, we know or learn that from the cube, you've got the flower of life, or it represents the flower of life, the fruit of life, which comprises of 13 interconnected spheres. Now, if you took the time, these interconnected spheres are the circles that you see in the cube here, all right? And the innermost circle is referred to as the Holy of Holies. Its placement within this flower of life, so they call it. So the innermost circle is the fruit of life, and the outer circles in their entirety are the flower of life. Now, obviously, it's up to you as to whether or not you want to pursue this in any great depth. My brain just gets fried when I spend time looking at it. But what I will say is I understand that even today, within the university studies of architecture and things like that, they don't call it Metatron's cube. I don't think they do. I think they call it sacred geometry. I'm not sure, but they still refer to this placement, if you like. Oh, don't quote me on it, actually. Just go and do your own research on it if it's something that is of interest to you. What I can say is that I have spoken to architecture students, and I had mentioned this Metatron's cube, and they were already familiar with it. Now, the other thing is too that you actually find these patterns and that kind of stuff in mandala work, and when they do layouts, I'm talking about healing practitioners who use crystals, they will often do the placement of the crystals in alignment with this Metatron's cube. Just they may not even be aware they're doing it. You might be a crystal healer and not aware that this is why you're placing crystals in certain spaces. But do leave a comment. Let me know what your thoughts are. I find it fascinating. So let's quickly touch on the power of thought, okay, which is obviously Metatron's domain as well. Most people understand as they expand their self awareness, they recognize the power of thought and that it links to creativity. And so they will therefore try and focus on positive things, like consciously and concertedly make an effort to think happy things. However, just having a happy or positive thought is not enough, because what that becomes is a negative thought or something that we consider to be negative, or a negative emotion or an uncomfortable emotion, comes to the surface for processing and healing, and we automatically shut it down by replacing it with this feeling of no, 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 I'm not unhappy, I'm happy, I'm happy. That's denial, okay? So the entire objective of the power of thought is to clear the mind of all false beliefs so that you can receive the truth. Now, you've all been born, as have I, to express our own unique version of the Creator, but we've first got to learn to connect with our personal truth. Now, until we have managed to clear our thoughts, basically we're going to be reactive, or at least running under the subconscious influences, if I don't choke on my own words, where we react to stimuli and outside events as opposed to experiencing them and responding to them and creating positive solutions. Now, these reactions, and even extreme reactions, are basically because of our emotions and beliefs towards the events and towards the environmental conditions. Now, the first obvious or overt sign that we can experience prior to a reaction is actually a sensation in our body, because these factors are going to inform our beliefs. Okay, we're going to feel the discomfort before we're actually fully aware of it. Okay, and this is one of the reasons why if you were working with therapists for behavior change, or because you're struggling with anxiety and depression, they try to get you to become consciously aware of changes in your body. Now, that can be tension in any particular spot, and it's all a messenger about what's going on. Now, going back to the factors that inform our beliefs, these can be cultural, they can be traditional, and they can include prejudices, and as we learn to live what is called upwardly and in the truth of the energy of the eternal, we learn to let those biases go and just to release this attachment. There's no forcing ourselves to ignore the negative responses. It becomes more a case of aware and recognizing when we're becoming uncomfortable, unpacking it. What is that about? Actually, to be quite honest, I would say most of the time it's about judgment, and then releasing that judgment and choosing to live in peace. So it just becomes a level of training, but we're going to talk about that in a moment. Basically, divine energy, the energy of the eternal, is the energy that seeks to reunite us in love and freedom. That's not only with the Creator, that's not just about our divine connection to Source. This is about our divine connection to one another, because we are all connected at one level or another, even if it's only soul level. But the importance of thought becomes clear, other aspects of the importance of thought. It's important anyway, regardless of the manifestation process. But Metatron explains that manifestation starts as a thought, and if you're manifesting a divine thought or a divine idea, you have this capacity to link with your internal intelligence via your divine spark. Now, remember, the divine spark is called by some people your namaste, other people you call it your Holy Spirit. It is basically the creator essence that lives within our heart area, and this is part of our divine creativity. Now, as we expand and link to the divine, so when I say expand, I mean expand this divine spark within ourselves and increase our own personal vibration and uplift it. We strengthen that link to the Creator. Now, we can be a little bit slow in picking up on the divine ideas when our vibrations run a little lower than what they could be, when we're in the early days. So what we can actually do is call upon Metatron to quicken you know what I mean? To speed up our intellect as part of shifting past limitation. Now, purity of imagination, according to Metatron, is a form of divine expression, and this is where the divine is able to impart this divine idea, which is part of our divine blueprint, I might add, to us. And for us to receive that idea and action it, we have to keep a clear reception, to be receptive, okay? So I guess it's like tuning the radio station. To be able to hear it, we need to be clearly on, what is that word? They probably don't even use radios these days with these little rolling buttons. But basically, if you want to tune in the radio, if you don't have it perfectly on the channel, you get static, you get background noise and this kind of thing. So the channel is not particularly receptive. You still hear, but the static can interrupt what you're hearing, and sometimes it can actually distort the message as well. So what Metatron is basically saying, simplifying it down, is be receptive, attune to the correct channel so that you've got a better reception, the frequency's good, and then you will be able to hear the divine ideas and receive your messages far more easily, and then you'll be able to action it and manifest it. So it is strive to keep yourself clear and receptive so that you can see, hear, and know the power of the divine ideas, and that imagination is a tool of creation, because what the mind perceives, the body can conceive. Remember, this is where all of that comes from. So Metatron explains thought as an energy that is magnetic. Now, many people, I would expect, have already learned this and understand it, but some people won't have. So to put it into perspective, your innermost thoughts create your physical reality. When we hold thoughts of self-love and comfort, we create a positive life for ourselves. And when we hold judgmental thoughts, and these are what keeps us separate from others, and angry thoughts will attract angry people into our environment, while self-pity attracts people who are also stuck in self-pity or in victim mode, and they enable you to remain a victim of life and to feel powerless. Now, if we're full of vengeful thoughts and a desire for vengeance, if I can pronounce the word, goodness me, stumbling over my first language. Okay, so if you've got a desire for vengeance, you'll not only attract other people that are spiteful and unpleasant towards you, but you will also create conditions in your life and within your physiology that are ripe for disease and illness. Now, the way that we speak to ourselves also affects our life. So there's all these different considerations, okay? So we're encouraged to check the way we speak to ourselves, measure our mind chatter, if you like, and find the cause of any of the negative scripts that we adhere to and recognize how they impact on our life, and then make a conscious decision to heal this negative mind chatter. Because obviously we want to attract love and a supportive environment, healthy people toward us, so that we can live a healthy life ourselves. And within this context, we become masters of ourselves. So this is self-mastery over our habits, our judgments, and so forth. Now, Metatron explains that judgmental thoughts control our subconsciousness and awareness in the same way that emotions control our behaviours. And therefore, as we master our emotional responses, it's necessary to learn to master our thoughts as part of accessing the power of the mind. For instance, all the habits that we have, they have developed as a process of overriding our natural responses. Now, his wisdom or guidance is to encourage us to be willing to release these habits. And the way we do it is exploring how we feel and what we think about our feelings. For instance, what does a thought or a feeling do for you? And if we're talking about habits, does the habit act as a suppressant to your feelings? Now, this could be the use of substances or cigarettes even, do they help us to forget, or do they help us to block or manage strong emotions? And out of what experience did the habit start? The path to freedom lies in catching ourselves in mid-act, and then to catch ourselves before we act, and then release the need for the action, okay? The next step of the process becomes one of transformation. It's this level of new awareness within ourselves, and where we liberate ourselves from these limiting thoughts and restrictive behaviours. I do apologise for the puppy, but I'm going to carry on. That's the noise that you're hearing in the background. When you liberate yourself from these limiting thoughts and restrictive behaviours, you're then going to be able to respond appropriate to each circumstance you find yourself in the best way you can within any given moment. I'm going to use an example of myself for this, okay? And you'll learn a little bit more about me in this process, because we've all got our habits. I'm no different. If I were to use a simple example and apply it to my life, I enjoy the habit. It is completely habitual. It's something that I enjoy. Each morning I need to have 2 coffees, psychologically, hear that? I need 2 coffees, and I need to have a couple of cigarettes before I start my day. This is my routine. It's habitual. Is it necessary? Do I really need to? Well, I think I do, because when I start my day, I'm generally a bit foggy, a bit unclear, a bit non-receptive, and I find that having the coffee actually gives me a kickstart. It energizes me, and I tend to build my day around this. My cigarette smoking, I actually enjoy that as well. I have no idea why. I can't explain it. I know when I started it, and I actually know it lies with a certain act of rebellion, if you like, within me. There's a rebelliousness attached to the cigarette smoking because it's so antisocial these days. Do either of them interrupt my capacity to connect to the divine? I don't believe they do, actually. I believe that it's just part of life. But so there you go. I accept and I do understand the reasons why I have these habits, but I don't believe they impact negatively on me. Of course, the smoking will. It's going to have health impacts as from a physiological level. Oh my goodness, the puppy. I think it would be fair to say, within the situation of my habits of coffee and nicotine, that I have discovered, accepted and understood them. Am I willing to release either of them at this point in time? I would say probably contemplative with the nicotine, not necessarily with the caffeine, but I do realise, oh my gosh, can you hear that puppy? Sorry about that. I just stopped. I just removed the toy from him so that I can carry on and be undistracted. Okay, so going back to the content, I would be contemplative about giving up the cigarette smoking. I recognise that if I was to give up the coffee, I don't think that I consume enough of it for it to be a major problem on a physiology level. And also, if suddenly coffee wasn't available to me, I wouldn't have an issue getting past it. And the other thing is too, if I was willing to release either of them, I don't think that it would take a huge amount of time to actually release these habits. Possibly more for the cigarette smoking, because that is a very long-formed habit. But I can also tell you that, in all honesty, that if I was to go through a transformation by giving up either of these substances, the transformation would probably be developing a better sleep routine so that I spring out of bed in the morning, as opposed to drag myself out, which I do on many days, and I have those coffees. But having said that, I can still wake early in the morning, and I can still bounce into the day, just dependent on what's happening. And generally, if I've given myself enough sleep in the evening. So no, I don't think I'm completely dependent on the coffee. I think I could give that up quite easily. Metatron explains that beneath every action and behind every desire, there's a voice that yearns to be heard. Now, I could explore that more in regard to my smoking and my coffee, but I'm not sure I will for this now. I'm pretty sure I know what it's trying to tell me. The voice is trying to tell you something, and sometimes it's so subtle you've got to be still to hear it. And this is why there is this recommendation that we see again and again through the spiritual teachers, if you like, to sit in silence and allow yourself to hear your inner voice. However, when you're not sitting in silence, your inner voice is still able to make its voice heard, I believe. And he says that too. You can hear it in this little sting of conscience, perhaps when you took an unhealthy pathway, or you made some questionable decisions, or even when you were unkind and unloving to people around you, that's acting in ways outside of your own inner guidance. And you'll know within yourself when you're not being true to yourself, because your conscience is going to tell you. So I think I might actually, when we talk about the smoking that I do, I'm bound to get comments about this. The little sting of conscience with that is that, are you being kind to yourself? Are you taking care of yourself? Your body is a temple, do we actually go into a temple of God and create a bonfire? No, we don't. You know what I mean? So it might be time for me to reflect upon how well I'm treating myself by doing the smoking, because I know that I actually started it when I was 16 years old, and it really was about social conformity at the time, thinking because I was 16, I thought I was an adult. I'll make my own decisions. I'll smoke cigarettes if I want. So it was a juvenile emotional response to start, but it's one that I've become dependent on. But does it actually offer anything practical and value health-wise? No, it doesn't. It actually does the opposite. So if I was being a responsible adult, I would probably let that one go, but I'll think about that tomorrow. Now, of course, a really big thing that Metatron actually explains to us is that we all have free will. This is our conscious choice, the capacity to choose our thoughts and our behaviours. And we are all encouraged to spend some time in quiet contemplation to receive the reflections of the Creator upon the mirror of our imagination. Now, he suggests that we consciously choose to create from the heart through a space of love. And when we do this, our rewards will be great. He says, choose to overcome sickness, fear, and pain. And instead, when you wake each morning, choose to focus your thoughts on the divine and choose health, strength, and love, and align your will with the Creator will, and then watch your true life unfold, because you will be walking and living your divine blueprint. So, of course, as with all of the angels, we have a capacity and the option, thank God, literally, to be able to invoke the Creator, Metatron, our angels and guides, to help us shift past limitation, to help us find the cause of the negative scripts and the mind chatter, and to be able to heal them. And we also can ask to have our divine plan revealed to us, and we can also invoke to be open to receive. Now, within the context, let's say, going back to, hey, it's all about me. It's not, I'm joking. But if we were to use the example of me with my smoking, because clearly I would imagine that you're hearing a level of resistance here for me giving this up. Now, I'm well aware of this. So what I could do is work on releasing resistance if I had the will to do so. And then taking action to actually break these patterns of negativity. Now, that is on the radar, but I'm not going to make promises that I potentially won't keep. So what you hear in my voice is that that duality, the polarity, the swings and roundabouts. I don't have a good reason for keeping on doing it. It's just purely habitual, and it's an unhealthy habit. So I can invoke the Creator and Metatron to release this and to overcome it. But I think I enjoy it too much right now. I'm sorry, I'm not a good example. I'm not a good role model at this point in time. I think I might need to revisit my own words and power of thought. What do you think? So, of course, I'm just going to rush through this. We do our invocations, and we follow up invocations with gratitude, because this is an ascension attitude. And as pointed out by Metatron, magnetic. The more grateful we are, the more gratitude or experiences we're going to be able to draw towards our own personal energy fields, and we will be open to receiving more blessings. So, of course, we encourage gratitude, even if it's for selfish purposes, because ultimately it's going to expand out to be inclusive of gratitude for a whole range of blessings that will shower upon you. So, my friends, that is it for today. This is all I can give you in regard to my information and content on Metatron at this particular point in time. I do encourage and invite you to leave your own thoughts, beliefs, experiences, understandings, and that kind of stuff as part of expanding. Just expanding the pool of information that we've got here on the channel. I also want to thank you in advance for being part of this journey and for having the patience for my little doggy as it's gone through, because he's clearly like a 2-year-old. He's a bit excitable. And I'm going to say, love you, leave you for now. I wish you a blessed day, blessed week. Take care of yourself. Catch you on the next one. Bye bye for now.